Nikola Tesla's wireless power system. In 1899, Tesla wasn't just theorizing about wireless electricity, he was demonstrating it. His Wardenclyffe Tower project on Long Island was actually powering electrical devices without any wires or fuel sources. Just pulling energy out of the air, basically. He called it radiant energy, this electromagnetic radiation that exists everywhere and can be converted into usable electricity. His tower created a resonance effect with Earth's natural electrical field, turning the entire planet into a wireless power source that could supply unlimited energy to anyone with a receiver tuned to the right frequency. Witnesses described seeing light bulbs glowing without any connection to power lines, electric motors running continuously without fuel, heating systems operating indefinitely without any energy source. This wasn't theoretical, it was happening. People on Long Island were using Tesla's system to power their homes and businesses using nothing but specialized receivers that collected energy from the air itself. But here's where it gets interesting. J.P. Morgan had financed the whole project. And when Morgan realized that free energy would destroy the profit model of the electrical power industry, he immediately withdrew funding. Morgan reportedly told Tesla something like, "If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter?" That's the question that killed the project. Not whether it worked, but how do you charge people for something that's freely available to everyone? The financial implications were massive. Tesla's invention threatened to eliminate the need for power companies, coal mining, oil consumption for electrical generation. Within 2 years, the project was shut down. The tower was demolished. All evidence of Tesla's breakthrough was systematically destroyed. And it didn't stop there. Federal agents seized all of Tesla's research materials immediately after his death in 1943, classified his free energy patents under national security orders that remain in effect today, apparently. The FBI confiscated over 80 trunks of Tesla's documents, including detailed blueprints for scaling up the wireless power system to global proportions. Independent researchers who tried to replicate Tesla's free energy system have faced systematic persecution ever since. In 1957, an engineer named Lester Hendershot built a working reproduction of Tesla's radiant energy collector, demonstrated it to military officials. Within weeks, his laboratory was raided by federal agents, device confiscated. He was warned never to discuss his work again. The suppression continues today. Patent applications for free energy devices get immediately classified under the Inventions Secrecy Act, preventing inventors from developing or even discussing their technologies publicly. Over 5,000 patents remain classified under secrecy orders, many of them involving energy generation systems that would eliminate dependence on fossil fuels. Then there's Royal Raymond Rife and his cancer cure machine. In the 1930s, Rife invented a microscope so powerful it could observe living viruses and bacteria in real time, which sounds impossible, but he did it. Using this technology, he identified the specific electromagnetic signature of cancer-causing viruses, and he developed frequency generators that could destroy these pathogens selectively. Hissarding cancer cells with precise electromagnetic pole frequency therapy worked by bombs that matched their natural resonant frequency. Like an opera singer shattering a wine glass with the right note, Rife's machine could destroy malignant cells by hitting them with their exact vibrational frequency while leaving healthy cells completely unaffected. Clinical trials conducted in 1934 at the University of Southern California showed remarkable results. 16 terminal cancer patients were treated with Rife's frequency therapy. Within 70 days, 14 were completely cured. The remaining 2 patients recovered fully after their treatment protocols were adjusted. A 100% cure rate for terminal cancer cases. Dr. Milbank Johnson, who directed the clinical trials, prepared to announce the revolutionary cancer cure to the medical world. But before the results could be published, Johnson died suddenly under mysterious circumstances. All documentation of the cancer cure trials vanished from university records. Just gone. The American Medical Association immediately launched a campaign to discredit Rife's work. Medical journals refused to publish papers on frequency therapy. Researchers who supported Rife's work lost their funding. Doctors who used the Rife machines were threatened with loss of their medical licenses. In 1939, agents working for pharmaceutical interests broke into Rife's laboratory and destroyed his research materials, including irreplaceable components of his universal microscope. The remaining Rife machines were systematically tracked down and destroyed. The devices were intimidated into technicians who had built silence. The suppression was economic as well as scientific. Cancer treatment had become a billion-dollar industry by the 1940s, generating enormous profits for pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, medical equipment manufacturers. Rife's simple, inexpensive cure threatened to eliminate the entire cancer treatment industry overnight. Several researchers who attempted to replicate Rife's work died under suspicious circumstances. The technology that could have saved millions of lives was erased to protect the profits of an industry that benefits from treating disease rather than curing it. Thomas Townsend Brown discovered something equally revolutionary in 1928. He found that electrically charged objects experience a force that appears to defy gravity, leading to the development of actual anti-gravity technology. His breakthrough came from observing that capacitors, which are just devices that store electrical charge, experience a net force when charged with high voltage. The capacitors would move toward their positive electrode, creating thrust without any propellant or moving parts. This Biefeld-Brown effect suggested that electricity and gravity were connected in ways that contradicted Einstein's 1952 Brown's general relativity, and demonstrated his anti-gravity technology to military officials using disc-shaped capacitors that could fly around a circular course under their own power. The devices achieved speeds of several hundred miles per hour using only electrical energy, no jets, no propellers, no reaction mass of any kind. The implications were staggering. Brown's electrogravitics could enable spacecraft that didn't require fuel, aircraft that could hover indefinitely using only battery power, transportation systems that operated silently and without environmental impact. Classified military research into electrogravitics began immediately. Projects codenamed Winter Haven and Project Y receiving substantial funding from the Air Force and Navy. By 1955, Brown had developed electrogravitics devices that could lift their own power supplies and achieve sustained flight. But then the research was suddenly classified in 1956 under national security orders that made public discussion of electrogravitics illegal. Brown's patents were seized. His research facilities were closed. All documentation of anti-gravity technology was removed from public access. The official explanation was that the research had failed to produce practical results. But independent investigators discovered that major aerospace companies had secretly incorporated electrogravitics research into advanced aircraft programs. The suppression of Brown's anti-gravity technology appears to have been motivated by strategic military considerations rather than scientific validity. These are just 3 examples, but the pattern is consistent. Revolutionary technology gets developed, it gets demonstrated to credible witnesses, and then it gets systematically suppressed through patent seizure, equipment confiscation, legal harassment, and often mysterious deaths. The technologies that could have freed humanity from energy dependence, cured diseases, revolutionized transportation, they all got buried. Not because they didn't work, but because they worked too well, because they threatened industries built on artificial scarcity and planned obsolescence. And there are more, so many more examples of this happening. John Keely developed something in 1872 that might have been even stranger than anti-gravity. He called it the Keely motor, and it supposedly ran on sympathetic vibration, which sounds like nonsense until you see what it could do. His motor extracted energy from sound waves and molecular resonance. Just sound. musical tones and harmonic frequencies. That's what powered heavy machinery in his demonstrations. No fuel, no electricity, nothing but vibrations. Keely claimed he was harnessing what he called etheric force, the vibrational energy that exists within all matter, according to him. By creating specific acoustic frequencies, his device could tap into molecular motion and convert it into mechanical work, basically a perpetual motion machine, which violates thermodynamics. But it worked anyway, apparently. Public demonstrations in Philadelphia showed his motor lifting enormous weights, powering industrial equipment, running for hours, continuously using only sound waves from tuning forks and acoustic devices. The motor seemed to extract limitless energy from the air itself. Scientists and investors who witnessed it confirmed the machine produced way more energy than any known power source could provide. Thousands of horsepower generated using only vibrations that Keely created with simple musical instruments. The Keely Motor Company got formed in 1874 with funding from wealthy investors who saw the implications of unlimited free energy. But as development went on, those same investors realized something. Keely's technology would make existing industrial infrastructure completely obsolete, destroying fortunes built on coal and steam and mechanical power. So systematic sabotage of his work began in 1881. Investors demanded he reveal the secret of his vibrational energy source. When Keely refused to disclose the complete principles behind his motor, funding got withdrawn. Legal action got taken to seize his equipment and research materials. After Keely died in 1898, investigators examined his laboratory and claimed to find evidence of fraud. Hidden compressed air systems that allegedly powered his demonstrations. But here's the thing. Those debunking efforts were funded by the same investors who had withdrawn support from his research, the same people who had financial interests in suppressing the technology. Independent analysis of Keely's work suggests his vibrational motors operated on principles of acoustic resonance and molecular harmonic frequency that mainstream science wouldn't understand until quantum mechanics got developed decades later. His etheric force appears to describe zero-point energy extraction through harmonic manipulation. Modern researchers have replicated aspects of Keely's vibrational energy systems with limited success. Acoustic motors that generate more power than their input energy should theoretically allow, which suggests Keely might have discovered legitimate principles of energy extraction from molecular vibration. The Keely motor represented technology that could have eliminated humanity's dependence on fossil fuels over a century ago. Its suppression protected industrial interests that profited from energy scarcity. Then there's the Hutchison effect. In 1979, Canadian inventor John Hutchison accidentally discovered that specific combinations of electromagnetic fields could cause objects to levitate, transmute elements, defy physics in ways that mainstream science insists are impossible. The Hutchison effect happened when multiple electromagnetic generators got operated simultaneously in his laboratory. Tesla coils, Van de Graaff generators, RF signal generators, all running at once. The intersecting electromagnetic fields created zones where normal physics just ceased to function. Metal objects would spontaneously levitate, fuse together, transform into different materials. Video documentation shows aluminum bars bending like rubber, pieces of metal lifting off tables and floating in mid-air. Dissimilar are materials fusing together at the molecular level without heat or pressure. Objects placed in these electromagnetic field zones exhibited behavior that violated conservation of energy, mass, and momentum. Military officials from the United States and Canadian governments observed Hutchison's demonstrations, confirmed the effects were genuine. Colonel John Alexander from the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command witnessed materials levitating and transmuting, reported that the phenomena couldn't be explained by any known scientific principles. The most remarkable aspect was the ability to alter matter at the atomic level. Steel bars would partially transmute into aluminum. Wood would fuse with metal. Objects would spontaneously change their molecular composition in ways that seemed to violate fundamental laws of chemistry and nuclear physics. In 1990, Hutchison's laboratory equipment got confiscated by Canadian authorities acting on behalf of international military interests. His electromagnetic generators, documentation, experimental materials, all seized and classified under national security orders that prohibited him from discussing or replicating his work. Attempts to reproduce the Hutchison effect by government laboratories have reportedly been successful, but remain classified. Internal documents suggest military researchers incorporated Hutchison's discoveries into advanced weapons programs that can manipulate matter and gravity using electromagnetic field interactions. If electromagnetic fields can cause levitation, transmutation, defiance of physical laws, the technology could revolutionize manufacturing, transportation, material science, while making conventional military hardware obsolete. Hutchison has continued his research in secret, despite government harassment and equipment confiscation. He claims to have developed portable devices that create localized zones of altered physics. But demonstration of these technologies has been prohibited by national security restrictions. Wilhelm Reich developed something equally suppressed in the 1940s, devices that could accumulate and concentrate what he called orgone energy, a universal life force that could treat diseases, control weather, power motors without fuel. His orgone technology successfully demonstrated healing effects and weather modification before Reich got imprisoned, and his research got systematically destroyed by federal authorities. Reich discovered orgone energy while studying the relationship between psychological health and biological energy. Found that living organisms naturally accumulate and radiate a form of energy that could be concentrated using alternating layers of organic and metallic materials arranged in specific geometric patterns. The organ accumulator consisted of a box-like structure with walls made from alternating layers of steel, wool, organic materials like cotton or wood chips. This configuration created what Reich called an organ field that could treat illness, accelerate healing, restore biological vitality to living organisms. Medical testing showed patients treated in organ accumulators experienced significant improvements in conditions including cancer, arthritis, chronic fatigue. Temperature measurements confirmed the devices generated measurable heat without any power source, suggesting they were actually concentrating some form of environmental energy. Reich's weather modification experiments used large-scale orgone devices called cloudbusters that could disperse clouds, create rainfall, control atmospheric conditions by manipulating organ energy flows. In the atmosphere, documented demonstrations showed successful weather control over large geographical areas using only mechanical orgone manipulation devices. The FDA began investigating Reich's work in 1947, claiming organ energy didn't exist and his medical claims were fraudulent. Despite extensive documentation and witness testimony supporting Reich's discoveries, federal authorities obtained court injunctions prohibiting distribution of organe devices. In 1956, federal agents raided Reich's laboratory and destroyed his research materials. Books, papers, organ accumulators. The systematic destruction was so thorough that agents even burned Reich's scientific journals and personal correspondence, eliminating decades of research into bioenergy effects. Reich got imprisoned in 1957 on charges of contempt of court for continuing his organ research in violation of federal injunctions. He died in federal prison 8 months later, under circumstances his supporters considered suspicious, effectively ending all legitimate research into organ energy phenomena. Independent researchers who've attempted to replicate Reich's organ accumulator have reported similar biological effects: temperature anomalies, enhanced plant growth, measurable healing acceleration, results that suggest Reich might have discovered legitimate bioenergy principles that mainstream science refuses to acknowledge. The suppression of Reich's organ technology appears motivated by its implications for medical treatment and energy generation. If orgone accumulators could treat diseases and concentrate environmental energy, they threatened pharmaceutical profits and conventional power generation industries. Edward Leedskalnin built something between 1923 and 1951 that demonstrates similar suppressed knowledge. Coral Castle in Florida. He built it single-handedly using massive coral blocks weighing up to 30 tons each, working alone at night with only primitive tools. Leedskalnin demonstrated an unknown method of moving enormous stone blocks that appears to have involved magnetic levitation technology. After his death, all evidence of his construction methods got systematically removed and classified. Leedskalnin claimed to understand the secrets of pyramid construction and anti-gravity, stated he'd discovered how the ancient Egyptians moved massive stone blocks using magnetic forces rather than mechanical advantage, built his coral castle as a demonstration of these lost construction techniques. Witnesses occasionally observed Leedskalnin working at night, reported seeing him moving massive coral blocks as if they weighed nothing. The blocks would reportedly float through the air and position themselves precisely where Leedskalnin directed them, suggesting some form of magnetic or gravitational manipulation. The engineering required to move 30-ton blocks using conventional methods would require heavy machinery that Leedskalnin didn't possess. His primitive tools, pulleys, chains, hand-built tripods couldn't generate the forces needed to lift and position stones, weighing tens of thousands of pounds with the precision shown at Coral Castle. Leedskalnin's workshop contained unusual electrical equipment, homemade generators, electromagnetic coils, devices he claimed could see magnetic currents. He spoke frequently about understanding magnetic current and the relationship between magnetism and gravity that mainstream science ignored. After Leedskalnin's death in 1951, government investigators immediately sealed his workshop, confiscated all his equipment and research notes. The devices he used for stone construction got removed and classified. All documentation of his magnetic levitation methods got eliminated from public access. Analysis of the coral blocks at Coral Castle reveals cut marks and shaping that couldn't have been achieved with primitive hand tools. The precision of the stone cutting and complexity of mechanical joints suggest use of advanced tools that Leedskalnin officially didn't possess. Some stones are balanced so precisely on single points they can be moved by hand pressure despite weighing tons, indicating understanding of leverage and balance that approaches perfection. Modern attempts to move similar coral blocks using conventional construction equipment have required multiple cranes and teams of workers. The fact that Leedskalnin accomplished the same work alone using primitive tools suggests he had access to construction principles that remain unknown to conventional engineering. These cases keep piling up, each one following the same pattern. Brilliant inventor develops revolutionary technology, demonstrates it to credible witnesses, then faces systematic persecution through patent seizure, equipment confiscation, legal harassment, often mysterious deaths. The innovations that could have transformed civilization get buried in classified vaults or destroyed entirely. And there are more examples still to examine. Technologies that challenge our understanding of what's possible. Inventions that threaten the economic structures that control modern life. John Searl, in the 1960s, developed something even stranger. British electrical engineer working on what he called the Searl effect generator. Magnetic generator that supposedly produced unlimited free energy while demonstrating anti-gravity effects that allowed it to lift off the ground and fly. His SEG successfully powered entire buildings using magnetic field interactions alone before authorities shut it down and destroyed Searl's research facilities. The SEG consisted of magnetic rollers orbiting around magnetized rings in specific geometric patterns. As the rollers moved around the rings, They generated electrical current through magnetic induction while simultaneously creating anti-gravity effects that reduced the device's apparent weight to zero. Demonstrations showed SEG devices producing kilowatts of electrical power without any input energy source, while simultaneously levitating and flying through the air under their own power. The generators appeared to extract unlimited energy from magnetic field interactions. Witnesses described seeing Searl's generators floating above their mounting platforms while powering electrical loads that should have required substantial input power. The devices generated electricity continuously without fuel, mechanical input, any apparent energy source other than the magnetic interactions of their rotating components. The SEG technology combined free energy generation with anti-gravity propulsion in a single device. Could theoretically power spacecraft indefinitely while providing their own lift and propulsion. The implications for space travel and energy generation were revolutionary, offering unlimited power and transportation capabilities. In 1968, British authorities raided Searl's laboratory, confiscated his equipment, claimed his generators were creating electrical interference with aircraft navigation systems. All SEG devices got destroyed. Searl was prohibited from continuing his research under threat of imprisonment for violating electronic emissions regulations. Searl spent several years in prison on charges related to electrical code violations and generator operation without proper permits. During his incarceration, all his research materials got confiscated and destroyed, eliminating decades of work on magnetic field energy extraction and anti-gravity technology. Attempts to replicate Searl's work have been systematically suppressed through patent interference, legal challenges, denial of research funding. Scientists who achieved partial success with SEG-type generators faced harassment, equipment confiscation, legal action that prevented further development. The suppression of Searl's technology appears motivated by its implications for energy independence and space propulsion. If magnetic generators could provide unlimited power while enabling anti-gravity flight, they would revolutionize transportation, eliminate dependence on fossil fuels and conventional electrical generation. Searl continues to work on SEG development despite decades of suppression, claims his magnetic generators represent a new form of physics based on magnetic field interactions that mainstream science refuses to acknowledge. His technology remains classified and restricted from public development. Then there's Victor Schauberger in the 1940s, Austrian inventor who developed revolutionary engines that generated power through implosion rather than explosion, creating vortex effects that could produce unlimited energy while simultaneously purifying air and water. His implosion technology demonstrated efficiency levels impossible with conventional engines before being confiscated by Allied forces and classified for military applications. Schauberger's implosion engines worked by creating spiral vortex patterns in air and water that concentrated energy inward rather than dispersing it outward like conventional explosion engines. The vortex implosion process generated tremendous power while actually cooling the engine and producing pure energized air and water as byproducts. The repulsine implosion engine achieved remarkable performance characteristics, generating substantial horsepower while consuming minimal fuel and producing no harmful emissions. The engine operated almost silently, became more efficient as it ran longer, apparently extracting additional energy from the vortex implosion process itself. German military forces took interest in Schauberger's technology during World War II, commissioned him to develop implosion engines for advanced aircraft applications. His work contributed to disc-shaped aircraft prototypes that achieved flight characteristics impossible with conventional propulsion systems. After the war ended, American intelligence forces captured Schauberger, seized all his research materials, including prototypes, blueprints, documentation of implosion engine principles. He was interrogated extensively about his vortex technology before being released with warnings never to continue his research. Schauberger's implosion engines demonstrated energy efficiency levels that violated conventional thermodynamic principles. The devices appeared to extract more energy from fuel than combustion chemistry should allow, suggesting they were tapping into additional energy sources through vortex manipulation of air and water molecules. The environmental benefits of implosion technology were revolutionary. Schauberger's engines produced purified air and water as exhaust products, actually improving environmental conditions while generating power. The technology offered pollution-free energy generation that could reverse environmental damage while providing unlimited clean power. In 1958, American businessmen convinced Schauberger to come to the United States to develop his implosion technology for commercial applications. However, after arriving, he was forced to sign contracts that gave complete control of his inventions to American corporations, while prohibiting him from continuing independent research. Schauberger died in 1958, shortly after returning to Austria, reportedly broken by the suppression of his life's work. All his implosion engine technology got classified and removed from public access, preventing the development of clean energy systems that could have eliminated environmental pollution from power generation. Modern researchers who have attempted to replicate Schauberger's vortex implosion principles have achieved limited success but face systematic suppression through patent denial, funding restrictions, legal challenges that prevent commercial development of implosion-based energy systems. The most extreme case might be the Philadelphia experiment in 1943. The US Navy conducted a classified experiment that supposedly successfully teleported the destroyer USS Eldridge from Philadelphia to Norfolk using an experimental electromagnetic field generator. The Philadelphia experiment demonstrated matter transmission and invisibility technology that was immediately classified and hidden because it proved that physical reality could be manipulated through electromagnetic field control. The experiment was based on Einstein's unified field theory, which suggested that electromagnetic and gravitational fields could be manipulated to alter space-time around physical objects by generating powerful electromagnetic fields around the ship. Researchers hoped to achieve radar invisibility, but instead achieved something far more extraordinary. On October 28, 1943, massive electromagnetic generators created a field around USS Eldridge that caused the ship to vanish completely from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Witnesses reported seeing the ship disappear in a flash of blue-green light, leaving only an indentation in the water where it had been moored. The ship reappeared minutes later at the Norfolk Naval Station in Virginia, over 200 miles away, having apparently traveled instantaneously through what could only be described as teleportation. Radar operators at Norfolk confirmed the ship's sudden appearance before it vanished again and returned to Philadelphia. The crew of USS Eldridge experienced severe psychological and physical effects from the teleportation process. Some sailors were found fused partially into the ship's metal structure. Others became invisible and couldn't turn the effect off. Many suffered from temporal displacement that left them existing partially outside normal time flow. The technology had succeeded in manipulating physical reality, but at costs that made it too dangerous for practical application. The Navy immediately classified all records of the Philadelphia experiment and denied that any such research had occurred. Witnesses got transferred to different assignments, sworn to secrecy, threatened with court-martial if they discussed what they had observed. The teleportation technology demonstrated that physical matter could be transmitted instantaneously across vast distances using electromagnetic field manipulation. The implications for transportation, communication, military applications were revolutionary, offering capabilities that would fundamentally transform human civilization. Independent researchers who investigated the Philadelphia experiment found evidence that the technology was based on principles of dimensional manipulation that allowed objects to travel through parallel space-time dimensions rather than conventional three-dimensional space. This suggested that reality itself could be edited using electromagnetic field control. The systematic suppression of teleportation technology appears motivated by its implications for military and economic control. If matter transmission became available, it would eliminate transportation industries, make military bases vulnerable to instant attack, fundamentally alter the structure of global commerce and political power. These INVT intentions represent more than lost opportunities for technological progress. They're evidence of a systematic pattern of suppression that protects existing power structures by eliminating innovations that would fundamentally transform human civilization. From Tesla's free energy systems to the Philadelphia experiment's teleportation technology, each breakthrough got eliminated, not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. What unites these suppressed inventions isn't scientific impossibility, it's economic and political threat. Free energy would eliminate utility companies. Cancer cures would destroy pharmaceutical profits. Anti-gravity would revolutionize transportation and make military aircraft obsolete. Matter transmutation would eliminate scarcity-based economics. Each technology got suppressed because it challenged industries worth trillions of dollars. The pattern of suppression is consistent across decades and continents. Brilliant inventors create revolutionary technologies, demonstrate their effectiveness to credible witnesses, then face systematic persecution through patent seizure, equipment confiscation, legal harassment, often mysterious deaths or disappearances. The innovations that could have created a golden age of human prosperity are buried in classified vault, TS, or destroyed entirely. Perhaps most disturbing is what these erased inventions reveal about the nature of technological progress. Innovation isn't limited by scientific possibility, but by economic permission. Breakthrough technologies exist, but remain hidden because they threaten the profit margins of industries built on artificial scarcity and planned obsolescence. These inventions represent just a fraction of the revolutionary technologies that have been systematically erased from history. In classified facilities worldwide, breakthrough innovations gather dust while humanity continues to struggle with problems that were solved decades ago by inventors whose work was deemed too dangerous for public knowledge. These erased inventions prove that the world we inhabit isn't the world we could have. It's the world that certain powers have decided we're allowed to have. The technologies that could eliminate poverty, cure diseases, provide unlimited clean energy, transport us to the stars exist, but they've been locked away to preserve the existing order that benefits from human limitation and dependence. The greatest tragedy isn't that these inventions were lost, it's that they were deliberately hidden, ensuring that human potential remains artificially constrained while revolutionary solutions to our greatest challenges remain forever just out of reach.